till I die, Spurs Diehards. Tottenham till I die. Tottenham till I die. Tottenham till I die. Spurs Diehards. Tottenham till I die. Tottenham till I die, Spurs Diehards. Tottenham till I die.
Hello and welcome to the regular Tuesday edition of Spurs Diehards TTID. We have got things to talk about, believe it or not, in this quiet period, which is known as the horrible transfer window, which we all absolutely hate. Well, I do anyway. Tonight I've got a couple of regular friends of the show with me. I'll just introduce them in a second, and then I'll go through the chat before we actually start the show. So I'll start with you, James. You was on last time you were on when we were both doing this show here, and we were both inebriated because Spurs had won the Europa League. How are you?
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. I'm good. Yeah, I can't say I have the greatest recollection of that particular show. There are some hazy moments, but let's be honest, chat about Spurs.
Cheers. And Kev, a regular friend of the show, he's back with us today. I'm grateful to have him on. How are you, Kev?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you, Adrian. Recovering from my week in Madeira and the experience of trying to watch planes land and take off at the Cristiano Ronaldo airport, which was great fun, especially as we nearly didn't take off ourselves. And then coming home, of course, to my new grandson, which called Tom.
Tom and Sophie's newborn.
As told everyone, yeah.
We've all congratulated Tom. I did send him a link for today, but obviously as a dad, he's going to be very busy.
He's doing another thing tonight. I know he's with the marching band. There's a meeting on about that, so he probably won't be able to make it.
That's fine. All right, so just bear with me a second. I just want to go and say hello to see who's in the chat on a Tuesday this late evening. And we have got Graham, good friend of the show. Big up, Graham. And we've got Milton. Yeah, I know. I've still got a sore throat from doing the vocals, Milton, to the intro. And it was Kevin. James were on guitar, so they did a good job as well. Yeah. Thanks for being with us, Milton and Graham. At the moment, we've also got 23 of you watching us on various platforms, and we haven't even started yet, so that's excellent, right? So we go through to the banners, and I'll get the guys' take on this. Right, we're going to start with this. I'll start with you, James, yeah? Right, Frank's coaching team. I've got two banners, so we go through these because this has been a bone of contention with me. I know it's with Kev on certain things here in the past. So, right, let's get rid of that. And if I can, why won't you? Right, here we go. We're doing one at a time. I'll start with you then, Kev. Andres Georgian has been brought in as the set-piece coach. About time, isn't it, Kev?
It certainly is. When Tom put a comment in the chat saying throw-ins, he's practicing throw-ins, and I know both you and me have had this gripe about our throw-ins for ages, and both defensive and attacking throw-ins. But I see he's down as being dead ball starting positions and transitions. So I'm assuming he's going to be doing everything.
That's what.
So, but yes, I think that's. Yeah, I think it's. I'm hopeful. Let's put it that way on this one. That actually means that well, perhaps we might, not just throw the ball backwards all the time. We might actually progress up the field a bit, So
well, it look like we know what we're doing with the ball.
Yeah, something like that. What I'm certain won't change is that we'll still have 10 people back in the box for defensive corners, which is another one of my gripes. But there we go.
Right, well, we can get onto that as well. We can discuss everything. Yeah, set pieces, James. I mean, one big bone against mine is the lack of variation. I mean, you can see even last season, you can see when there's been tweaks where that was from the training ground, but I haven't seen too much of that was from the training ground from this team. And what is it with free kicks where like there's some magnetic attraction, or it must be in a Sky contract that you must bend the ball around the wall, right, to score a goal? When last time I looked, which is a couple of seasons ago now, so it might have changed, about 1 in 16 going in there.
It does. It did seem like at large points last season. Our free kicks were pretty poor, and again, a lot of our corners. It was how many times did we have a corner and it just didn't beat the first man, or we did exactly the same thing every time we got a set piece. It just seemed like it hadn't been coached at all, and the players were almost going through the motions, or if someone fancied going for a shot, they went for it. But I don't know too much about him. I know he's been a set piece coach at a few clubs before, and at first I thought he might be Danish, but no, he's Swedish. So, hey, hopefully he can make our set pieces slightly less terrible. I do wonder how much set piece coaches do. I'm guessing they just drill the players on different set piece tactics. I mean, anything is an improvement on what we've witnessed last season. So hopefully,
what I'd like to see is there's not, when we got a free kick in the opposition's half, just put it in the box. And don't pass it backwards again and try and progress that way. There's little things like that. Create a bit of excitement.
Go on, James. Go on.
The thing that always used to frustrate me, and this has been a thing for many years under different managers, is we won't cross the ball from those sort of set pieces while we have a big physical striker on. We'll take him off, and then we'll just stop, and then we'll start whacking the ball in the box. It's like you want to cross when the big guy's in the box, not when he's not in the box.
Yeah.
Baffles me.
I mean,
I can't disagree with that at all.
And what's your guys' take on the fact? I mean, I hate all these free kicks where you get a free kick a yard inside your halfway line, and the player taps it 3 yards to one side. There is nothing more exasperating. I mean, if you take a team that has to defend on getting the ball forward, has to concentrate on getting the ball forward any way they can, like an Everton, you'll find Pickford come up to the halfway line and launch that ball, and then you've got 10 outfield players rather than one outfield player kicking to 9. At percentages, it's better. I remember back in the day, Kev, remember, Watford used to play that way under Graham Taylor. Every time they got a ball, even when they had Laurie Cunningham and the striker the good striker they sold to Liverpool up front, they played percentage football. John Barnes. They played percentage football. They just used to. They did, and they finished second that year. I think they did that.
They did, they did
so
second, yeah.
There's a lot to. I mean, throw-ins. Oh, that just drive me crazy. When we get one, I think, well, we've won the ball, but what's the point? You know what I mean? Like you think, like, what's the point? Right? Because what are we going to do with it? First of all, people are going to stand around for 5 seconds so as the other team gets set anyway, and they've got an extra man now because you're playing. Your guy's taking a throw. You've got 9 against their 10. You should take them quick. You can't tell me. Chris Cowley did laugh at me like when we was talking about this once in the Gilpin and that. He laughed when I said, well, and this was before people started talking about Liverpool having a throwing coach, or he wouldn't just be a throwing coach, And then Villa took the guy from Northern Ireland who was the set-piece coach. I forget his name, that went to Villa and all that. And they worked on things. And I'm thinking like, well, we've got more than enough bloody coaches at the club. When people used to say to me, get a set coach, I'm like, hang about. Why does he have to have a specific designation? He can do that as well as other things. We've got so many coaches. What are they going to do? Sitting around all day drinking coffee or something? So,
yeah. It does amaze me in throw-ins that they always wait for the fullback to come up and take them, as you were saying. So you're hanging around waiting for the fullback to run 50 yards up the bloody pitch to take the throw-in. nearest person, get the flipping ball and throw it to someone else.
Well, the fullbacks have got to get their steps in.
It's a simple tactic sometimes.
They've got to get their steps in, mate. But no, it does seem like often with these free kicks that aren't in really advanced positions and with throw-ins, they're not necessarily seen as set-piece opportunities. They're seen as possession retention opportunities. Like, the strategy does seem to be just keep the ball. Don't do anything with it. I do think, looking back to certain players, I can't remember his name, played for Stoke, had those long throw-ins. Surely players could practice to do something like that. So if we get a throw-in in the other team's half, you know, even if we're not scoring out of it, it creates some chaos, and it's another thing you can do. Surely someone can blim and throw the ball.
Well, this is the thing I get with
you
free
think
kicks.
so, of course.
Go on, Kev.
Yeah. You okay, Adrian, remember, of course, we used to have Big Chiv. Used to, so our centre forward used to take the throw-ins, you know, and lob on onto the penalty spot and cause all the problems because we had a decent header of the ball in a young chap called Gilzine. So yeah, and you're right. It must be possible in this day and age. The balls are much lighter than they ever used to be. Someone must be able to chuck it 25 yards into the box. I mean, it's not that difficult.
Porro's got a bit of a throw on him, but this is another thing, right? As fans, we should know who's got the longest throw in the team. There's a squad of 25. I mean, with 11 on the pitch, who's got the longest throw, right? To start with,
because only fullbacks take throw-ins.
Yeah, and who's got the hardest shot? We knew that Dyer used to have a shot, and we knew Wanyama could hit a ball, right? But who's got the hardest shot? Because the thing that gets me with free kicks, and Kev will know, and you must have seen this as well, James. You'd have watched a lot of old videos. But when I'd had the England team, and we were winning 1-0, and Argentina got a free kick, they just slid the ball down the side of the wall, and their player running and scored. Right? Used to get with Martin Peters and Chivers. Kev, remember that it would chip the ball over the wall, and the player would run behind the wall and smash it in. Definitely get it on target, you know, unless the keeper made a worldly save. And then you'd have there was just the simple, there's a wall there, attack to the side, player with a harder shot runs in, bangs it. Well, then one of your strikers then is looking for a rebound if it don't go in the net, you know. So there was all of that. And I just don't see, and I think keep it simple like we did back then, and you'll get goals from these positions. But if you think you're going to score, just look good bending one round the wall. Don't get me wrong. Madison's goal against Villa, you know, and that 4-1 win or whatever it was, I remember last season, it was a lovely free kick. I mean, like, I'm not against it. But when it's always the same old thing, though, you know what I mean? It just drives you nuts. Like,
yeah, a little bit of creativity and variation goes a long way.
Yeah, I feel like maybe for some players, maybe I'm totally missing the mark here, but it does feel like with certain players, when they take free kicks, they're taking them so they can look cool in a compilation video on YouTube or Twitter. It does sometimes feel like that because I know some of the players watch them because sometimes they respond to them. So maybe some players are a little immature and doing things like that as opposed to doing something a little more creative. I don't know. But who knows? I
mean, obviously, there are players who can take those long free kicks and has been in the past, and we've had them ourselves. You know, Cyril Knowles is another one that springs to mind from way back in the day when I was first going along. You know, and obviously Hoddle. Well, you know, we haven't had a free kick taker like Hoddle ever. I don't think. You know, in those sort of situations, Gascoigne maybe. It was the closest that came to him as we were sort of going through the things. But,
there's never been.
Porro has got that ability to do it, but he does it very seldom, you know. So yeah, but yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to see what, you know, whether they try anything out in any of the pre-season games. I don't suppose they will against Woolwich and you know, and the other, and is it Newcastle, the other one we're playing in the over.
We've got Arsenal away in Singapore, and then there's that JPeng competition in Korea.
Yeah.
Then we've got Newcastle, and it must be an All-Stars K-League, Korean League team again.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah,
so
they might try against some of the Asians, but I don't suppose they're trying to against Woolwich and Newcastle, because they'd give the game away, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So, James, tell me everything you know about Fabianotte, the goalkeeping coach.
Oh, I have former Liverpool goalkeeping coach.
Oh, well, yeah.
He, German, also previously was a goalkeeping coach for the United States. Mönchengladbach goalkeeping coach, Burnley, Hoffenheim. He was also goalkeeping coordinator for another team, but he doesn't have a Wikipedia page, so I can't say I know tons about him. But I mean, I'm guessing Liverpool wouldn't hire you to be a goalkeeping coach if you were useless, so he's probably decent. And I guess, I don't know how much a goalkeeping coach can really do. Hopefully, maybe he can toughen Vicario up a little bit, although I think he did improve. But hey, see how we go. That's all I know.
Kev, do you think the goalkeeping coach, not just the goalkeeper, because, I mean, I've wondered about this. Apart from being the goalkeeping coach, it's all right being a goalkeeping coach, but then goalkeeping also involves the defenders that are around you as well.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, I played in goal for a bit in my sort of amateur days.
Misspent youth.
And all that sort of thing. And I'm pretty small for a goalkeeper, so you have to shout at your defenders a bit. So it is a case of, the goalkeeper's almost coaching the defenders as well as doing his defensive duties. So yes, there's got to be some coordination there, obviously, as they're going through. I suspect, the goalkeeping coach is looking at their technique and how they get down to a ball, their reflexes and everything else like that. Whether or not he is then sort of coaching them to coach the defensive coach. I see we've got Matt Wells down as a defensive coach as well. Yeah. So I'm sure there'll be a bit of coordination going on there. But it should also be, it's got to be distribution. I mean, most goalkeepers are good shot savers, otherwise they wouldn't be there anyway. They wouldn't have grown up being a goalkeeper if they couldn't pull off the saves in the first place. But what does seem to be lacking sometimes is the nous when you've got the ball at your feet and what you do with it. And it's that sort of coaching that I would hope they start to bring out a little bit in Vicario. And Kinski, when Kinski first started his first couple of games, he seemed to have his own mind about how he was going to distribute the ball. And then later on, he fell back into the same trap of the short ball to the person who's got 5 players around him, and we give it away. So I don't know quite whether someone coached it out of Kinski in that first couple of months he was here. In those first 2 games, he was a revelation, really, comparatively speaking, in how to distribute the ball. So I hope that they work on that. And I suppose because the set piece coach, transition coach or whatever he was called, will also probably be dealing with the goal kicks as well. So and how we work those out. So.
Well, thank you for this, because Otto holds a PhD in skill acquisition, expertise, and talent. Youth A license, goalkeeping coordinator for the German Football Association. Yeah, well done, you.
Sounds good.
I mean, well, you know me here. I always hunt and trawl for facts and information that I think
he was also the starting goalkeeper for a greatly named team called Blythe Spartans. And when he played in 2016, they got promoted to the National League North. So he was part of a title-winning campaign, a promotion campaign in non-league. So he's ready.
That's
for
all right.
There you go.
Was it them on Newcastle way back in the day, many moonshots ago, right? When the first World Cup was played up in the Northeast. Was that Newcastle and Juventus, or Blythe Spartans and Juventus or something?
Yeah,
it was only a
Newcastle thing. Yeah, Juventus took their kit from Newcastle, didn't they? So,
was it that way or the other way around? Well, a lot of people think we took our white strip for Real Madrid, but that's a myth. No, Bill Nicholson, when you see them on floodline, we were at them games, Kev. We were at them games.
I wasn't quite.
When we played in fog on snow on bogs, actually, quagmires, and our Oddle could produce the skill he could on those conditions, I'll never know. And
there we go.
the floodlight was that poor, wasn't it? That's why he wanted white shirts so as the players could see each other.
Well, when we were first, that was way back in the 60s, obviously. Even before I started going, Adrian, you were there, but I wasn't.
Yeah. So he looks like a very good acquisition, Fabianotte, right? And I only recently found out about him. I mean, because I'm very Spurs centric, James probably go out and find out about these things, watch a lot more foreign football than I do, right? So we've got Justin Cochrane. He was at Brentford. He's the attacking coach. Well, that's good. I think the fans watching this show will be pleased to know that we've got people in positions with designated positions that we can blame if things go wrong as well. So I don't know anything about Justin Cochrane, apart from the fact he was with Ange at Brentford. Chris Haslam's another one, head of performance, and he's also assistant coach. What they've seemed to have done, instead of something like, head coach, there's a few assistant coaches. Matty Wells is defensive coach. He's highly rated, Matty Wells. I know everyone took stick last year. Everywhere at the club, everywhere you could aim a bullet at was fired at last season, right? So, and in shotgun fashion as well. So Matty Wells is highly rated. So defensive coach, again, I don't know if I'd want to be the attack coach or the defensive coach. Maybe they're equal pressure. It seems that in defence you might get more stick. Right, so then let's hope that Matty Wells works with the goalkeeping coaches, right?
Yeah.
Because that's important to me. And then we've got Joe Newton, first team analyst. Well, I assume Milo Jellinik's on his bike. And he used to be sitting up near the press with the laptops and all this. I think this is what Joe Newton's doing. He's going to do all the heat maps and stuff for the games and things like that. I assume. Other than that, I wouldn't know. If anyone knows they do any more, let me know. Just want to see who else is in the chat. Yeah. We got ours off Dulux. I don't know what that means, to be honest with you. Right, let's go down to the next banner. This is the last one on the coaching staff. For all you fans that are watching out there, and the 70 of you that are viewing us on various platforms, thanks for joining us. Right, we got Karen Campbell. And this is an interesting one. Individual player development. Kev?
Yeah, whether that's an off or an on-field matter, I'm not 100% certain on this one. I've got no idea what they might do, to be honest. It's perhaps we'll find out as time goes on how they're actually how they're doing it.
I don't know in depth the club go with this, but to me, if you can do a heat map of every player on the field, all their touches, what they've done with the ball, and headers are won, the closing down, the balls are won, the balls are lost, the good passing, and all that, and you've got, I would have evaluation sheets after each game, and I'd be going to players, have them all in one at a time as this individual player development guy and saying, look, you don't cast and go, this is what you were good at, but you need to improve here.
You've got to improve in this area and that area. Yeah. Yes, I'm presuming it'll be something like that. I mean, they might say you're not running enough, you're not sprinting enough, or
and they might determine a plan and say like, well, use your left foot a bit more. In that situation, you should have moved in on your left foot. You keep going to the right or the right, cutting on the left. Or whatever. There's lots of things, or get tighter, or think, obvious stuff. So your comments on that, James?
So interestingly, looking at Karen Campbell, he's managed a few Scottish youth teams, Aberdeen, and he was Rangers under-18s assistant coach. But he also worked for RB Leipzig as an academy coach for a few years. And typically, they work on a very database model. So it's quite interesting to see that he got a job for Leipzig, which probably indicates he's quite good at, because obviously their whole model is take young players and progress them. So obviously, if he's worked in that sort of environment, presumably he's in the know of how they do that and how to do that quite well. So that would be interesting to see exactly what his role is. But he obviously seems quite talented because he's quite young and he's worked for the second biggest club in Scotland and one of the biggest teams in Germany.
So, and then Right. Stuart Lewis has been promoted because he was the under-18 coach at the club, at the academy, the under-18 academy. So he's now, which this makes sense actually, first team academy transition coach, Kev, for the job he's had. That makes good because he'll know those players, won't he?
Makes essential sense because we've got so many young players now who are meant to be coming through, and to help them do that, have someone who can sort of take them across and bring them across and bring them into the first team drill, perhaps a bit better than we have been doing recently. That makes this one makes absolute sense to me. Yeah,
James, your take?
It's a good move.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing is, I've said this before, there needs to be a very clear path from the youth teams to the first team. So if it means a member of staff is the person assisting with that, then that's obviously going to be helpful. I think that also has to be a wider systemic model within the club. But I mean, obviously, if that's the way we're trying to go from top down, then having someone in charge of that doesn't seem like a bad idea. Obviously, we don't know specifically what these people do on a day-to-day basis. This is just like a job title. And obviously, job titles can mean they don't encompass everything you do, right? Yeah, in effect, they don't encompass everything you do. No. So, yeah.
Kev, Dean Brill, I mean, assistant goalkeeping coach, it's pretty self-explanatory, isn't it?
Yeah, one presumes he's just going to be there to help us, Otto.
Yeah, well, we've got. I mean, Austin and Kinksky and Vicario.
There's 4 or 5. I mean, it depends how many, and we've got four on the books, haven't we?
Yeah, well, Keely's getting a new contract now. Apparently, you've got Gunter as well, and because Gunter was out on loan last year, he might share the goalkeeping responsibilities with Maguire now in the under-21. So we're not short of goalkeepers. When people start linking with us and saying, when they start critiquing Kinksky and Vicario, all got their faults, but they're good goalkeepers, and they're good. Yeah. Right? They've got their faults. They need to improve in areas. But
strength in depth there.
Yeah, we're not short of goalkeepers, and if you're thinking about bringing people in, who's better than them? You know what I mean? So sometimes you have to, who's
that's
better?
Available, yeah. Mm-hmm, yeah.
That's available. Is a good point, yeah. Now these next two, James, I mean, I am pleased with this, right? Nick Stubbins, I think actually John the Cheeseman knows this guy from Bedford, the physio, and he's also his other title. I couldn't fit it all in here on this banner. Is medical lead, which to me that goes hand in hand with physio, doesn't it? Really. So, and we know what our medical and science team were like last year. Absolute crap. Yeah. So this looks a good one to me. And then in combining with that, you got Tom Perryman. Don't know nothing about these last two actually. Strength and conditioning. So. Yeah, strength and conditioning, because you need to know that your players are fit and ready to come back.
He's come from Brentford. Tom Perryman's come from Brentford.
He's as well. So did Stubbins as well, I think.
Yeah, so Frank's obviously brought over people he trusts.
I think he brought 5.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what Brentford's injury record was like, but I'm sure it wasn't as bad as ours was last season. So I'm sure anything's a blimmin' improvement. Yeah,
but I mean, it's very hard. You can't conflate two different teams. One team's playing one game a week, and we played all them games in the Europa League, 13, 15 to win it, or whatever it was. And we went further in both domestic cups than they did as well, in semi-finals and stuff. So we're playing so many extra games. And then when you're, I'm not making excuses. Ange's gone. He's a legend. He's won a trophy. I love him to death. He'll always have a place in my heart, right? But then you had all them injuries, and then your players are overplayed. Decky plays 40-odd games. I mean, Porro's superhuman, fucking over 4,100 minutes or something, 50 games or something. It's just mental, right? And he didn't get injured, and I'm praying he has a good rest this summer, right?
He was back to the training, wasn't he, as well?
Yeah. Well, he's probably a lunatic, right? So,
I'm sure Carl was as well. Carl was doing personal training.
Yeah, Sar came back. And you'd think, I mean, I know that Gray, Odebert and Tell didn't have to come back because Gray was with the victorious under-21 side who won that Euro trophy for the second time in a spin, and Tell and then with the team. And I think you are entitled under the rules that the rules are that you get 3 weeks rest a year or something.
Mhm.
So I'm hoping all the PSG first team are on holiday by the time we play them in the Super Cup. I know there's a big game today. Chelsea are playing. Are they playing
Fluminense, weren't they?
Sorry?
Fluminense, they were playing, weren't
Right. If anyone's got any goals there, let us know, because I know 21's lost 5-2 today. They were winning 2-0. Lost 5-2. Yeah.
The Chelsea Fluminense game finished 2-0.
For Chelsea.
Yes.
Yeah,
okay. Lot of coverage for a pre-season tournament, I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just not interested in that World Club Championship. There's a lot of money in it, though, so it might become more popular. I think it'd be more popular
Chelsea to win it.
if you had more heavyweight teams in it. I mean, it is a Brazilian competition, and they need the money more in South America than we do in the Premier League. So I get that. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, but when you some of these teams will put in for, say, like, I don't know, you could say political correct reasons, because when you've got like teams from Saudi Arabia in it and other weaker teams in there, you just think, well, you've devalued the competition before you've even started it. Like, really? No, it's no disrespect to them teams. It's just they are at the level they are, So, yeah. So I've got a few comments. Before we go. Is Tom any relation to Steve? I don't know. I don't know if it's a cousin or any relation at all. I do not know. And I love Steve. He is 850 odd games for our club, 53, I think it was. Who created the thumbnail? It's a secret. We've got a creative department, Brian Maguire. You like the thumbnail, do you? Yeah, I like it as well.
Yeah, it's good.
Barry says Chelsea have earned 80 million so far. Yeah, but money's no good to them. They'll just go out and buy another 50 players. Oh, Joel Pedro scored. The new guy from Brighton scored from. Yeah, okay.
Well, there you go.
Chelsea banners. Right. Oh, this is a bit that'll bore us all to death. Right, Spurs news and rumours, guys. Have you heard any rumours? Have you got any rumours in the chat? Please let us know. Yeah.
Hang on.
I haven't heard anything.
I'm reading about our new strength and conditioning coach from Brentford's profile. Apparently, he can deadlift 300 kilograms.
Can he?
Which, if you don't know, that is crazy good. That's like 1 in a million good. This dude must be a unit.
I used to do 2 20k plates either side of the bar, and the bar was 20k. No, I did about 2.5, I think, once. It was years ago, anyway. Yeah. So yeah. Is he on steroids? Has he been drug tested? Or
apparently he's not even a football fan. Apparently he's a rugby fan. So Brentford have gone out and found some random.
He'll get on well with Kevin Danso then. He'll get on well with Kevin Danso, because Danso had the choice of playing rugby or football. And apparently there was a picture of Danso picking up 2 of our players, 1 in each hand. And we know he's strong. I thought, who was it who said that? I think it was after a game sometime for a joke. Someone was I forget who it was that said that, actually. It might have been Johnny. I don't know. Yeah. I mean,
when you see the size of rugby players and what they do, so
does look like a rugby player, doesn't he, though, Danso? I mean, like, he's a good buy, isn't he? We'll see if he's got a good pass in him next season. See if he's passed. Yeah. Right. Okay. Let's talk about pre-season. Okay. Now, pre-season debuts. Are we going to see this? Vuskovic, Phillips, Kota Takai, was officially signed, and Jamie Donnelly. Are they set for Tottenham auditions, guys? Either of you can come in there. Doesn't matter.
Well, I think Takai probably will, because they've made quite a song and dance about him signing, haven't they? So it doesn't look like he's going to do a yang and go immediately out on loan to someone. So I think that we'll see him for sure. Donnelly, I'd like to see as well. Donnelly, I like to see trying out. And there's been such good reports of Vuskovic, isn't there, in his season last year? So I think the early games there against sort of Luton and Reading, isn't it? Our first 2. I think you'll probably see. you probably see a couple of those, you know, if not all, maybe all of them playing. But I think you probably definitely see Takai and Vukovic.
Yeah, Phillips did well at Stoke, James, and Dorrington won a medal of Aberdeen, didn't he, up in the cup up there? That'd be exciting.
You'd like to hope they get a look in. The only thing I would say is obviously because Frank is obviously new to the club, all the players are sort of new to him to an extent or another, and you want to have a look at potentially the more likely prospects. But you do think to some extent or another pre-season is an opportunity to look at these young prospects, especially someone who's just signed. You know, obviously we're doing a tour in Asia, which so I would be surprised if he comes along on the plane. Like, hope you enjoyed your flight over to London. We're going back. So yes, he might be awfully jet lagged. But yeah, I mean, you know, you take the young prospects with you, don't you? Just have a look at how they train, or give them some minutes, see how they play, see if you want to maybe keep them in the club or send them back out online. We did get a set piece coach.
Yes, we've got one, Brian. We've got one.
Yes, but you know, it's always interesting in pre-season because sometimes players shine really brightly and then don't show it, and then some players, it's, you know, I remember Lo Celso when Ange first joined, brilliant pre-season, never saw him do that in officials, so you never know.
The two last season, both Gray and Bukovic played. Bergvall, sorry, Gray and Bergvall both played in a lot of the pre-season games, and you know, you saw why Gray was going to be a sort of stopgap centre half at times. They both made mistakes in those pre-season games, but then they're both, you know, very young, and it was their first sort of bit. So you expect that really to happen, and that's the time to make your mistakes, isn't it? When it doesn't really matter in those things. So I would hope they blood a few of these youngsters again as we're going through.
Yeah,
mate, it's a question of, like, James, you don't want them sitting on a bench all season, though, do you?
No, I mean,
bring too many in.
And even to some extent, if all you'll use, if the only reason you're giving them minutes in pre-season is so you can almost assess where they need to improve, and because of that, where roughly they should go on loan. Do they need a bit of toughening up? Send them to the Championship. Do they need to work on perhaps technical ability? Don't send them to the Championship, maybe. You know, like if Bergvall hadn't played those pre-season games, he probably would have gone out on loan, and we wouldn't have benefited from him being brilliant for at least, like, you know, the vast majority of last season. Okay, his first few games were a little rocky, but he was one of our better players last year. And there's a decent chance, if he doesn't play well in pre-season, or at least show things in pre-season, he's off in the Netherlands somewhere or playing for Stoke or something.
Yeah.
So, and we don't get any of that.
Bergvall, Gray and Spence wouldn't have got the game time if we didn't have all the injuries. So one thing we can take from a crap season is the fact that those players have kicked on. I noticed a lot of fans are more excited about Bergvall. Don't get me wrong, I am as well. But all I would say to them is, like, those of you who overlook Gray, go and look at his videos. Seriously, go and look at his videos. This kid is an absolute baller. And so is Spence when he's on form. When he's on form, like, you know.
I voted for Gray in the Player of the Season votes last year, because I just think he came in and did such a great job playing out of position, sort of thing, and all that. And he was, you know, the odd mistake here and there, but he was, you know, he was superb for us. And Bergvall, my fantasy team was named after Bergvall, so I had to. Would say I'm a big Bergvall fan as well, but I voted for Gray as player of the season.
The Decky was still mine, but you forget about players who get injured and don't finish the end of the season. You know, and those that are still clear in your mind always seem to get the votes. Like, so yeah. But Gray, left back, right back, centre back, and even that first half against Brighton when we got battered in the last game of the season, which we didn't care because we'd won the cup, right? I thought, you've shown what I've seen in other videos of you there. You can do that job in midfield, but you've got to have a run of games there. Or not necessarily a run of 90 minutes there, because you could come on second half and do it for half hour, and work your way in, unless you can click at training or something like that. Yeah.
It did suffer a little bit coming in with players he hadn't played with before around him and things like that. So, you know, when you're playing in that midfield three, or if we're 3 or 4, it depends on we're lining up, of course, then you know, the more settled you can be. At least if you've got 2 players that are playing all the time together, and you know what's going on and how you're doing it, that's definitely an advantage, isn't it? But and Gray sort of plopped in there, hadn't played in the position all season, and was expected to be dynamite, but which is a hard thing to do.
Yeah. James, this is Donnelly's time, isn't it? Because let's assess the situation. Maddison and Kulusevski are going to miss a big chunk of pre-season. Donnelly's the next option for number 10, unless you play Odebert or Mikey Moore there. All right.
Yeah, or unless someone comes in. There's a signing, which, I mean, who knows what's going on with our signings. Yeah, you'd expect him to perhaps at least get some form of look in, at the very least in pre-season. It's difficult because at the same time, Frank is obviously a very pragmatic manager and he won't always play a 10 necessarily. But I would be very surprised if he didn't at least get some form of an opportunity to play. So we'll see.
Your take on that? You're a fan like me on Donnelly. I'm sure James is as well, if you've seen a lot of him, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the flashes of him playing for Orient last season, and my son-in-law and his brother and kids have been to quite a few Orient games this season and watched him and Keely, and they think he'd be great. I suppose there's all Spurs fans as well as Orient fans.
I just think,
I hasten to add.
I mean, you know, pats on the back to Wayne Burnett, because when Donnelly came in, he came in as a striker from Northern Ireland and he converted him to the number 10, and he's got a killer forward defence splitting pass on him. I mean, obviously it's not always going to work, but he's got it. And the fact that you've got the balls to try it as well, you know, because you know what it's like if you give the ball away, right? So you've got to have a bit more to your game than just being a 10, right? Because you will give the ball away. I mean, fair play to Maddison, he does take risks, but he does lose the ball, but he's also a quality footballer.
Yep.
So that's Donnelly. Where's my next banner? Have I got any more? Oh, Peter's here. Peter, how you doing, mate? All right. He was on last week's show. It's 7:43 a.m. in Melbourne.
Good.
And it's winter in Australia at the moment, so you know.
Yeah, it must be snowing as well. Then.
Big up, Peter. He's saying big up audio. Good day, Peter. And grand thumbs up. Right. Okay. Next banner. Okay. Yeah, it's interesting with 2 of the new guys that have come in, Buskovit and Takai. They can be named in the under-20 list for the Premier League. That doesn't affect us, but not for the B list for the European Champions League.
What's
because you've got the rule.
What's the B list?
Right. The B list are your players in your under-21 squad, right, that have been with the academy for 2 years.
So you don't have to register them, but they can play.
They've got to be with the B list. When Sarr couldn't be added to the B list, it was because he was registered with the club, but he wasn't with the academy. He was with Metz. He was loaned out to Metz all that time, so he couldn't go on the B list. It's the same as like Bergvall and Gray couldn't go on the B list last year because they've not been at the club. They're under 21, but they've not been on the B list. So we have to include them in the senior squad, which no one's got a problem with doing now, right? But we didn't know at the time, right? So, and now I'm not sure people have got this rule right. I've seen it. I've even seen it on Google. I've Googled it, and it says you have to be with the academy for 3 years between you're 15 and 21. I don't think that's quite correct. I think one of those years, you've got to be over the age of 18. Because it doesn't make sense to me. Because Mikey Moore has been with this club since he's about 13 or 14. He scored at every England level, and you'd think like he would be academy trained. So while you're looking for it, as I know you will, James, and come back to me, it says, I get it, 3 years with the academy from 15 to 21, but I think for that, I think one of those years you've got to be 18 or above. And you can't be loaned out in that time either. don't think you can be loaned out. So it's another little technical thing. But if anyone can really clarify that for us, and we want a good source, perhaps UEFA themselves or whatever would be the place to go. I don't even trust them. I don't even trust them to get an straight answer from them, you know.
Right. So from UEFA's official regulations of UEFA Champions League, which I'm sure this is a riveting read. Right. A player may be registered on List B if he is born on after the 1st of January 2004 and has since his 15th birthday been eligible to play for the club concerned for any uninterrupted period of 2 years or a total of 3 consecutive years with a maximum of 1 loan period to a club from the same association for a period not longer than 1 year.
Yeah.
So they can go on loan if it's to a club in the same country and it's only a year long.
If they're the club like 18 and 19, they can go out on loan for 1 year to the club in the Premier League till they're 20, and they still qualify for the B list. They're still under 21. That's what it sounds like to me. If I'm talking rubbish, tell me.
That does seem to be correct, as long as it's within the same country. Players age
so it doesn't have to be in the Premier League. It could be in any of the league.
Yeah, Championship.
Yeah. Players age 16 may be registered on List B if they have been registered with the participating club for the previous 2 years without interruption. And you have to have at least 2 goalkeepers total. There you go.
So we haven't come to the solution of the academy trained, which they say 3 years from 15 to 21. And that just sends an alarm bell going, I don't believe that's true, 15 to 21. I mean, those 3 years might be incorporated in the years 15 to 21, but I don't see it being 14, 15, and 16. And another reason I say that is because at 16 years of age, don't want to bore you 77 that are viewing us on various platforms, but from 16 years of age, like Mikey Moore did year before last one, you can sign a 2-year scholarship and only a 1-year professional contract. So Mikey Moore's due to sign a 5-year contract shortly because he's 18 in August, right? So yeah, so I'm still not sure about this, but I dare say.
Well, I'm sure there'll be people coming out with wonderful explanations as we get very close to having to register all of the players in the Champions League. It's probably, right. I mean, I don't think us worrying about it here isn't going to make a slightest bit of difference, is it?
No,
obviously,
no, what we know.
But it's nice to know, I suppose, that saying, "Oh yeah, if we got him, he can go in there," and maybe. So, I think we're still going to struggle. I think we're going to struggle because we have our homegrown players.
The struggle is not. It's not a struggle in a sense of squad depth.
No,
even though last year we could only register a 23-man squad because we had Whiteman and Austin as the 2 goalkeepers that were academy trained, right? They've done the 3 years. Well, now that Austin's gone, instead of a 23-man squad, that means we can only register a 22-man first-team squad. What that means is instead of having 17 foreign players, we would have 14. 15 if we go and get Carl Walker-Peters or Dennis Serkin from Sunderland, right? Get him back. Then we would have 15. But it don't affect the depth because then it affects. Frank's going to have the invidious task of being able to cut players in that European squad. Because towards last season, remember from January, we left out Werner, Kinksky, and Dragerson because he was injured. And we brought in Tell, Danso, and Spence, right? We brought in those 3 in. Well, if Dragerson had been fit, and all the others, and if we bring a foreign player in now, if it's Kudos, he's going to want Champions League football. So Frank's difficulty is not the amount of players, because if you've only got a 22-man squad, you've still got, and you can have as many on the B list as you want. So you can draw on all your B list players. So it's not a question of shortage of players. It's a question of who makes the cut for the Champions League squad. And at the moment,
that's what I really meant, Adrian. It is the problem we have. We won't have the space to put all the players that we've got in. I mean, like last season, everyone was moaning that he left Spence out for the league phase, and things like that. And then we had
the injuries. Did so well.
So, but
I know what you went.
It's always just. it's a nice problem for a manager to have.
Yeah.
If he thinks he's got the depth there, and he's got the balls to make the right decisions. Yeah,
it's not our problem, is it? The only time the fan
we can
base
moan about it when he's done it, mind you.
Well, yeah, because our fan base would be like, you leaving out a player they like, right?
Yes.
You know what you're getting in. You know you're getting on podcasts, right? Get a bit feisty. Right. So at the moment, we can only put 14 foreign players in the Champions League squad, unless we bring in Carl Walker-Peters for a signing on fee and wages, which he wants to come. Did you know he's best man at Solanke's wedding? Carl Walker-Peters.
I thought I read today that, or somewhere over the last couple of days, that we definitely weren't going for him.
I don't know if that gives any more gravitas to him coming back or not, but Solanke might be having a quiet word somewhere. You never know.
Yeah.
Depends how his speech went.
Yeah. Depends how the speech went. Most best men speeches are a disaster. And no respectable best man gets up and makes a speech not being inebriated. There's just no point, is there? Right. So
yeah.
Looks like our man's eager to sign a 5-year contract. I mean, he's won a Europa League. I mean, you don't need much more incentive than that, do you, James?
No. I mean, he's been with the youth academy for 9 years. So since he was 8. I mean, he's like 4 years younger than me, and he's playing for Spurs, which I don't like because I don't like that. I'm young still, I promise. No, he's a local lad. He's grew up with the academy. He's won a trophy. He's contributed at times this season. Yeah, absolutely. You don't want to lose your prospects, do you? Yeah. Sign him. Keep him.
And if he doesn't qualify as academy trained after being there at 9 years, he's got to be an adult age, isn't he? 18 or 19 or 20 or something like that. Yeah, I mean, I still don't know the answer.
He should be qualified for the B list because you can be qualified from 16 as long as you were at the club from 14. So he should be qualified unless he wasn't at the club for a certain period of time for whatever reason, for like a week or something. He should qualify.
No, he goes on the B list. He goes on the B list. Yeah, he's under 21. He's on the B list. Yeah, I'll be glad when this kid signed up. I mean, I've done nothing about rave about him, but because I watched all the under 21s during their season when they won the league and they won the playoffs, and and it's very hard when you watch a good team play, to not like everyone. When they win everything, very hard. And we know that. I know long term they'll all have. I'm confident that all those players will have football careers, but they're not all going to be at Spurs. We're going to be selling someone along like Man City and Chelsea do, and eventually the academy will pay more than pay for itself. It'll make a profit because Levy's there, So yeah.
Yeah, I'm going with Mikey Moore, and our friend Mr. Kramer is a big fan of Mikey Moore as well. And when we went to watch the second leg of the semi-final up in town, he was wearing Moore's name on the back of his shirt, and a West Ham fan came up to him and said, "Do you Bobby Moore?" But there we go.
Well, remember his dazzling 20 minutes against AZ Alkmaar when he come on. The goal he scored against Salzburg, right? The third one, the angle of, and actually he scored pre-season, didn't he? Up in Edinburgh, was it? Yeah. That was a nice goal as well. I mean, the kid. I watched him in on 29 games, and the team were never the same without him. Well, if you had that trio of him and Donnelly and Lancashire, right? You just wanted them. You just knew the goals were coming, Yeah. So
he's going to be. He's going to be.
Oh, he's a generational talent. I've watched under 21 games. I used to go to the old reserves games and all that. I mean, apart from going back to Glenolden when Perryman were on the side, I've never seen a better young player than Mikey Moore. Exciting player, So he'll be
talking age, James. Hoddle's the same age as me, so so when he came into the first team and I was on the terraces, and blimey, he's younger, or he's roughly the same age as me. Damn.
A Harlow lad. And do you remember his first game?
I do. Well, I remember his first home game I saw, and I remember his first away game because that was on telly. It was on Match of the Day. I'm pretty sure his first away game.
What was
I
his
remember
first home game? Was
it
that Norwich?
Stoke or Norwich? All I remember is him getting the ball on his chest.
Stoke away because he scored the winner.
Away. He scored
the winner in 2-1. Yeah,
and
I can't remember the home game.
I can't remember his games, but I remember him receiving the ball just outside the area on his chest, flicked it over his head and hit a volley, which went over the bar, and the crowd just went, because it was the first time most of them had seen him in that, and that sort of sealed him as a legend almost. Then straight away, of course, we got relegated. But, he blossomed in the what was the second division at that point.
Yeah, the pitch away at Stoke was an absolute mud bath when he hit that ball into the far corner. I mean, I still remember it. Yeah, I mean, like this kid because sideburns were all the rage then, you used to see the players with the sideburns down the side, but like elegant on a pitch like that. And look, we all know Stoke was never an easy play to go. You come off that pitch with bruises when you played Stoke, right?
Yeah. I used to get in early just to watch Hoddle warming up, when I was youngster as well. So anyway, we're reminiscing.
yeah. We'll move on. Yeah, it's good. I mean, it's good. Nearly an hour at a show. We've had plenty to say, and it's like a quiet period. But obviously, I'll talk to other things like that. So I want to get both your take on this. Son Spain. I never thought he was going to go. I didn't think so. He's never chased the money, and we all know if he had gone, he's going to be an ambassador at this club. We're going to keep him because we'll be selling Son shirts when he's retired. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. I think I agree with you. I couldn't see him. The only way he would go is if they said to him, "Okay, well, you've done your bit now. We don't, you can push off." But I think I don't think he would want to go. Be honest, now he's won the trophy, he's got what he wants. He's hero worshipped back in career, isn't he? Anyway, so why would he want to leave? I mean, it's he won't play. He won't be first choice. I don't think this season. He'll be on the bench most of the time. Whether or not the captaincy changes, who knows at the moment. So we'll have to wait and see, really.
I think he's just turned 33 now. I don't know if it's this week. He's about to, or he has turned 33. But he's looked after himself. I mean, it's not like Gilly of old in a Staggerhounds pub having a few pints, you know what I mean? So I starting to see him. And I think sometimes there's a bit much put on age with players. It depends on the player as well.
Yeah.
Because we've had a lot of older players. They tend to be more defenders like Thiago and players like that have carried on.
If you can dawdle about in the middle of the pitch and not have to do much. But if you're a winger whose skill was turning on the ball and running, then you get knackered a bit quicker, don't you?
Well, Sonny seems to be. He can be effective home and away. His numbers were good last season, even though he didn't look good on the eye test. But when I like to see Sonny, I like to see him running onto the ball with it. Yeah. We've too many times we pass balls to our wingers when they've got the back to the ball, so they'll either choose the easy option, pass it straight back, rather than try and beat a player on the half turn and go into midfield, move it to the middle. I mean, away to Ipswich last season, that game we spanked Ipswich away. Gray put him through with a through ball. Bentancur put him through with a through ball. Each time he's running forward, and each time he got assists. Right, so this is Sonny, and he does make things happen. I mean,
he does. Yep.
And again, I said to James in the back room before we started, I said, thanks, Brian Shrewd. He's keeping Davies and he's keeping Son. I mean, he'd probably get rid of Basuma. Rumours said before he's like Richarlison. Don't see Richarlison going and get another striker. And I know Kudus can play there, but he'd be wanted primary as a winger, right? So, I just think he wants to keep experienced players. It's a pressure job at Tottenham, and he wants to. So I want to keep them.
Yeah, you and when you're looking at what team you're going to put out in the League Cup and things like that. I know we don't go in until later on than that, but that's a competition set up for the experienced and youth come in as a blend, isn't it? That sort of thing. And so we need to have some of those experienced teams. I know I have people close to me who can't stand Ben Davis. I would rather see him go, but to me, he comes in and he does the job 9 times out of 10. He does the job. He might be a mistake somewhere, but they all do that in the centre half position, and I see him as a good solid backup. To be honest.
Well, Gray said when he was playing, he paired those two were paired together for a few games last season, more than a few actually, and they sort of didn't do no worse than anyone else. We know that. Reedy and Romero have the best win sequence when they're in the team. Yeah. But as you're of Welsh extraction, James, I mean, like Davis, you would want to keep him to sort of like use his experience with the younger centre backs we've got.
Yeah, of course. And also he's been cited as quite a good influence on the dressing room. I think he's doing his coaching badges. I read somewhere that he's considered quite intelligent footballing.
Yeah, I think he might have a degree or something like that, or close to getting one, something like that, yeah.
He's been at the club a long time. I can't remember the last time he had a bad game for Wales or Spurs. And, you're just extending his contract for a year. It's squad depth at left back and centre back. And if you want to go free at the back, which Frank sometimes does, he can play on the left of a back three, which means if you want to play Van der Ven in the middle or, switch things up a little bit, you can. You've got that little bit of extra depth. And I don't think it hurts. I think he's fine with a somewhat reduced role. And I do think the only place he'd really go other than Spurs is probably to one of the Welsh clubs. I did see that Wrexham were interested in him, but I'm not quite sure if he fancies that. He might want to go back to Swansea. But I think for him, he'll probably be looking to the next international football tournament and just wants to be playing at the highest level possible in preparation for that. And... he doesn't seem like the kind of guy who's going to whinge and complain because he's only playing 10, 15 games a season. And, I don't really see an issue with it. I don't understand why people want to get rid of him personally.
And if he got came on or started a European Champions League game, should we shit a miracle and win it, he'd get a medal, wouldn't he? But we know that we've got a slim chance and no chance of winning the Premier League or Champions League, and Slim's left town. So, I mean, this is not happening. But our best chance this season is silverware in the highest position we can attain, right? In my opinion, that's all. But, yeah.
Find me a player who is, by the Premier League standards, homegrown, who has his level of experience in the Premier League, can play left-back and centre-back on a free. Someone find me that, and, he can go. You can't.
And older players like Davis have done good jobs before. You take someone like Johnny Evans. I think he's just retired. He must be 98. I don't know how old he is now, but he's been a good pro, isn't he? Wherever he's been, So yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and it's no one's saying, "Oh yeah, I want Ben Davies to start every week," right? But not every player in your team has to be a world beater. Some of them can just be good professionals who benefit the team in ways that we don't necessarily experience because we're not in the dressing room.
Yeah. Right, I've got some comments to go through, and then I want to plug the channel and we'll carry on. Right, head coach, hey, Peter K. Milton saying hello. Swazi saying hello to each other. Then we've got him saying hello to Milton. Bums on Seats Beast. He's just joined our WhatsApp group. Welcome aboard. Audio regular. Do you think Frank keeps on as captain? That is we'll ask this. We'll put this to the panel, right? I don't think, which we'll come on to later, I don't think Romero's going anywhere. I don't think Atletico Madrid are going to come up with the money. And I could well see Frank saying, look, giving Romero the captaincy. What do you think, James?
Yeah, maybe. On the one hand, I do wonder how significant...
I mean, does it matter?
I feel like maybe my young person football take is that I don't think it matters. And also, I think that some people are just kind of naturally leaders, and they will lead a football team or a sports team, no matter the environment, whether or not they have an armband that says they're in charge. Some people are just in charge, right? Yeah, I mean, the thing is, someone can retain it in a ceremonial role, a bit like the royal family, right? They're there, not really, and then Romero is actually in charge.
Yeah, I think he probably will remain club captain for sure. But yeah, as you say, on the pitch, because he won't start a lot of games.
No.
I don't think. So I think it's. But whether or not Frank keeps that same sort of leadership squad that Ange set up, who knows? Sorry, we've got an adopted cat who's just walked in. That's one of the tails everywhere.
Yeah.
She's just adopted us, and the dogs are not ignore her, so she's living the life of Riley. Really.
Oh, I was wondering if it was my cat that was meowing faintly.
No.
My cat. If my cat wants my attention, it howls and it scratches at the door until I open it, and then he walks off.
Well, this one she was just outside meowing away, so I thought, I better go and let her in. Dogs are upstairs anyway.
Right, a good time to plug the channel and do my duty as one of the 4 admins in this group, along with EMF, who's co-owner with me, and Drusilla and zookeeper Tom, Kev's son. Yeah, there's 4 of us who are Spurs diehards. On that, I mean, like, it seems we've gained a bit of recognition for our work. I think we must have got a lot of neutral voters vote for us, because there are a lot bigger podcasts out there than us. And Spurs Kings, fair play to them, especially as we've won some competitions. Marlon and Ash, they put up a competition, an awards, content creators awards show up where people went in and voted. And believe it or not, to my surprise, but not so much, we won 2 awards. We were nominated in. We won the best newcomer and most underrated channel. So if any of you out there, the 80 odd of you that are watching us now voted, big thanks to you all. It makes what we do very worthwhile. There's a lot of hard work going, but so do all the other podcasters. They work hard as well, And on that, a bit about us, really. I mean, we do shows Tuesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. They go out at 10 o'clock UK BST. A bit later for the UK on the Tuesday usually, but Friday's different. People have got the weekend off. They stay up late if their mum and dad lets them. You know what I mean? So, yeah. So no issue there, right? And Sundays, people chill before they're going back to work on a Monday. So, yeah. So I usually host the Tuesday show. Drusilla hosts the Friday show. I'm usually on with him. Ian hosts the Sunday show. I'm usually on with him with guests. Sometimes it might be these 2 again or whatever. Depends. And yeah, we pride ourselves on bringing you information and facts as well on here, right? And like a healthy debate usually as well. We also have a Facebook group, Spurs Diehards, which I started in 2019 when the stadium opened, and in the six odd years it's been going, we've got 14,500 members on that. We've got an XCOM group, Spurs Diehards, which can be found at Spurs Diehards. That's got 3,200 members in it. We've got a page so our videos go out on that. We've got a page, our videos go on that. We're on Instagram as well. And we've got a WhatsApp group. And if any of you ever want to come on a show, basically we just need you in the WhatsApp group. So we'd need your phone number and all that, because we use the WhatsApp group as a sync to get guests, basically. So, yeah. So with that, I want to thank everyone who's in the chat at the moment for putting comments in and asking questions, and thank the nearly 90 of you viewing us now. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, you'd like to, what you can see and we can't, you'll see the little red YouTube subscribe button down in the bottom right hand corner of the video. Yeah. And if you want to actually join, we have got memberships open. If you click on our page on any of the videos there, you'll see the join button anyway, and you can just join. It's 3 types of memberships if you feel like joining us, right? In here as well, you can put in super stickers and super chats if you wish. Entirely up to you, right? And with that, we just want to thank you all for being with us and staying with us at this late hour, and we'll carry on with the show. So after I've done a couple of more things, let's do Beast. No, it doesn't mean it won't take reduction. Yeah, we'll come on to more of that at some stage. This one, Richie wants to stay. I don't want him staying. But what's your take on this, Kevin and James?
Well, I mean, look, realistically, where's he going to go? Saudi wanted him, and he didn't want to go live in Saudi Arabia, which I commend him for. I mean, I wouldn't want to live in Saudi Arabia, so fair dues. Otherwise, you're looking at potentially Brazilian teams who won't pay the money we want for him. Other than that, you're only really looking at like Everton. And Everton have obviously lost Dominic Calvert-Lewin because he didn't want to sign a new contract, although what's going on with that. But, they're in the market for a striker. Potentially he'd want to go back to Everton, but perhaps from his perspective, going from a rotational role at a team that's just won a European trophy and will be in the Champions League to a team who is bottom, about as terrible as we were in the league, that is a step down. Even if he's going to be the main man again, maybe he doesn't want that. Maybe he wants to stay for another season to try and prove himself to Frank. Maybe that's his thinking. I really don't know. I mean, yeah, if we're honest, as good as a player as he can be, I think he's very good in I think he's good at holding the ball up, and I think he's a very scrappy player who fights hard. I just don't think technically he's very. I don't think technically he's at a high level. I think
he's no Berbatov, is he?
No, and I do remember watching it was a Spurs Europa League game with one of my friends who's a West Ham fan, and he said, "Oh bloody hell, that's a terrible touch." And I said, "Yeah, mate, that's the Richie special," and he's just like dreadful touch. I love the guy. He battles, he fights. He's one of those scrappy players that you do need. But I do think he'd probably be better off at a team like Everton, where that sort of player is going to drag them through games, get them points, and sort of keep them in mid-table.
He is hash one shithousery, though. I'll give you that.
Oh yeah, and I do respect that. And it's not like I dislike him. The other issue is dreadful injury record. If he didn't have issues with injuries, I probably wouldn't mind him as a backup option because he can almost play anywhere across the front line. And I do think weirdly Frank would quite like him, especially if we played a 3-5-2. He can be the big scrappy guy while someone smaller can be beside him. But he just had an appalling injury record, and it's probably time for him to move on, especially when we've got Solanke. Son is still going to play games. I mean, Son is younger than Mo Salah, right? Realistically, he should still be playing a decent quantity of games. You've got Brendan Johnson, who was also a goal scorer last season. He's definitely going to get minutes. There are other, Kulusevski even, there are quite a few players. We have quite a lot of attacking options. So it's going to be somewhat difficult to fit someone with a poor injury record and a terrible first touch in.
Are you a thanker?
The thing that really frustrated me about Richarlison every time he plays was his first touch is just shit, isn't it? I mean, ball bounces off of him about 6 yards, and then he's stretching for it, and then he gets injured because he's stretching for the ball, and then he's out for another 3 weeks. A couple of good headers here and there, and the shithousery. Yes, I mean, you like that, especially when he's playing against the other London teams and things like that. But I agree with virtually everything James said about him. Then he's fragile. He has his odd odd touches here and there, but he's dispensable. Whether or not anyone's going to come in for him, of course, is another matter, isn't it? So we'll see.
Yeah, his contract's up in 2027. My take on it is, okay, you could, if he digs his heels in for the World Cup, right, which there's rumours of that as well, doesn't want to leave, wants to stay and prove himself, says, look, I haven't really given what I can for Spurs, blah, 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 but if you wanted to squeeze him out, it could be done, couldn't it? And I think we're waiting to see if we get a striker in before we decide. If we can get a striker in, then he goes. And then I think what they'll do is, this is only my opinion, I think they'll say to him, well, look, Richie, you're not going to get much game time. And we're not adding you to the Champions League squad either. And that might just be enough for him to think, well, I better go somewhere else. And he's going to be the same Richarlison wherever he goes, whether it's Everton or what. He will put the shift in. If he stayed injury free, he'd probably make that Brazilian squad. They're not exactly got a glut of strikers, So
I mean that's the thing. If there's maybe something behind the scenes we don't know about with his injuries, like Trippier, for example, he played a whole season for us for injury. before he went or whatever. If he can stay fit and maybe he had little niggles all year, fine as a backup option. But like, I don't want him starting games. I'm fine for him being like a rotational option for Solanke as like the backup big man. But realistically, if you're playing two up front, you need that. You need the big guy and the slightly more technical guy, almost, don't you? He's not going to start, is he? Solanke is a much better player than he is, and as a winger, no.
And getting a valuation on him is a bit difficult, Kev, because I think most fans haven't assessed the whole situation. I mean, there is a dearth of strikers out there. Everton have lost Calvert-Lewin, they need a centre forward. Danny Welbeck at Brighton's coming up for his 50th birthday, I think, as well. Like, you know what I mean? So, like, there aren't that many strikers out there that are in the price range of some of, say, the less wealthy clubs in the Premier League or whatever. I still think we know that you'd get probably 45 million for him from Saudi. I still think you'd get 35 in the Premier League for him because there just aren't strikers out there. If Brighton are going to go out and get a striker, if they're going to get a foreign striker, at least he's proven in the Premier League at Watford and Everton, even though he's made of glass. I think you're still getting 35 mil from him. I don't know what you're thinking. I don't know what you value.
Well, I'm more thinking he might go on loan somewhere if people aren't coming in for him. So, in that sort of respect, so. Whether or not
I think Spurs would want to sell.
They probably want a loan with a requirement to buy at the end of the year or something like that, wouldn't they? So.
Yeah, even if they buy him in parts. Yeah.
Or that broken arm.
Limb by limb.
Yeah. Right, this guy. I'm not anti-Kudos. I think technically he's superb. Watch the video from the day. I posted the videos everywhere, so you guys would have been able to see him and all that. He is a good, technically superb player. My only argument with Kudos is I'm not overly excited with him. I'd be more excited over Ineze. I'm not overly excited with him because he doesn't score enough goals. Now, admittedly, West Ham last year were a little bit less crappier than we were in the league, and that might have had something to do with it. I'm not doubting his quality. If he comes, he comes. I wouldn't be upset. But I just think 60-odd million, you could get Vlahovic, Fratesi, and probably another player for that sort of money. There's bargains out there.
So I thought I'd ask my West Ham season ticket holder friend what he thought of Kudos. And I'm just going to read to you the text messages he sent me. And I should point out, this isn't the most balanced man in the world. I've seen this man get angry over minor inconveniences.
Yeah.
No, he's shit, has an ego, hogs the ball, doesn't do anything. All he does is complain and can't keep his cool. If we get 50 million off you for him, you have been robbed, and Daniel Levy should be sacked. So that's my West Ham season.
He got sent off against us as well. I'm sure it was he got
did,
sent off.
Yeah. He has got a bit of a fiery, can blow up every now and again.
So they picked up a few yellows. I get that with wingers when people kick them in the air, like, you know what I mean. So, but
when he first came on the scene, I liked him and I thought he looked good. He looked dangerous. When he sort of went off the ball a little bit, lacked a little bit of consistency. Admittedly, that was it. As soon as I put him into my fantasy team, he seemed to go off the ball. That seems to happen with all my fantasy players that I pick. Doing well, pick them, they're out of the door. So, but I wouldn't mind. Yeah, like you say, Adrian, I wouldn't mind him coming, to be honest, because I think he'd had that bit of depth. But I do get concerned. He is a bit fiery and could get sent off quite a bit like Basuma. The sort of thing.
I'm also not one of those
tackles and things like that.
Yeah, James. I don't know if you, both of you, James next, but like, I'm also one of those when it comes to pricing players, right? Unless it really was a Ronaldo or a Pele or a Maradona or whatever, Messi. There are, when I'm looking at players, we'll look through players for instance, there are a limit, even if I was chairman of this club, of what I'm willing to pay for a player. And because, I mean, and like, so I think 50-55 mil would be about right for him. But I think you start stretching it when you go above that.
I think part of the issue is if you're buying domestically, every Premier League team is rich, right? Realistically, so they don't need to sell. B, West Ham for some reason think there's a rivalry, even though they're a small team. I genuinely don't understand why they're so angry about this rivalry. I have not spent a single day of my life thinking about West Ham, and so obviously they'll want to tax on something for that, which I can kind of understand, right? So that obviously inflates the deal. I do very much think signing Premier League players, unless there's something to do with contract, is often the worst way to conduct business, solely because they're going to demand a premium. Everyone knows that we have a lot of money, basically, and West Ham have a decent quantity of money through Premier League revenue, so they don't necessarily need to sell. They can hold out for a better deal. And so you end up paying inflated transfers. The same thing that happens to Man United. That's why they paid 80 million for Maguire. Everyone knows Man United got loads of money. So yeah, you can cough up 80 million. So it's sort of that double-edged sword. Just because everyone knows we have the sort of revenue to afford players, they demand a higher premium. It's like walking into a pub, and because everyone knows you're loaded, your pint costs twice as much. I do suspect there are probably better talents in Italy or France or Germany who we could get for cheaper. But obviously then there's obviously the added concern of, well, they're going to have to learn a new language, move abroad, away from all their friends, family. There's all that different adapting. Whereas Kudus has at least, lived in the UK for a few years. And obviously started his professional career in Denmark. So Thomas Frank must obviously be an admirer. But yeah, I do think it's probably a ridiculous fee, but you pay that when you buy from, Premier League clubs. Apparently there's also a clause in the deal we're doing with West Ham that if we win the Champions League, we pay an extra like 15 million.
Oh, this was like the 10 or if you read the rumours about the add-ons, you could believe it with Levy, right? But like, you get another 10 mil, 12 mil or something, or with these add-ons if we win the Premier League or the Champions League, So,
if he names his firstborn son Daniel, we'll give you another 2 million.
Bobby Moore. If he names his firstborn son Bobby Moore, yeah. So I think we would get the player for 55 mil if we don't faff about with these add-ons. I think we get him for that. They paid 38 for him, right? Nice profit for them. And it's very hard to judge the valuation of players now in a deflated market. Europe's well deflated. It's been deflated for a few years. Clubs still haven't quite fully recovered from losing revenue streams from COVID and that. Yeah. I have no idea. If we don't get him, fine. Sorry, Kev, I've butted in. Cool.
Yeah, that's all right. I'll just say I've got absolutely no handle on prices of players. No. It's just ridiculous, really.
No. I think the big issue of the Premier League over the past while, maybe 5-10 years, a lot of very average players are going for quite large quantities of money. And I think that's the biggest issue of inflation. It's like, you talk about like deals like Neymar going to a PSG for like 200+ million. That's in one category because he was perceived to be as like a world-class great player. I know he's actually not good, but different conversation. Pogba for 90 million. Those sorts of deals are one thing. I think the more hidden inflation is sort of pretty average players. We spent 50 million on Richarlison, right?
Yes.
And those sorts of deals, you go, well, do you think Kudus is as good as Richarlison? Yes. Well, you pay 60 million for Richarlison. Why not 60 million for him? Why not 65?
Yeah, and clubs now looking for bring young players in because it is a cheaper option if it works out well for them. I mean, we paid 12 mil for Vuskovic, but we played about 3 mil for Ashley Phillips. Right, we've given 5 mil for this Japanese guy, about 3 mil for Yang Min Hook. Right. To me, these aren't fans moan about it. To me, these are no-brainer deals. Look, we wasted 60 mil on Ndombele. We played 40-odd million on. I'd rather take a punt on these young players and get a few of them in. And we shouldn't fall in the trap and think, they're coming in as first-team players. So what we doing in the transfer market? I don't agree with that. They're not walking straight into the team unless they have unless any of these have an exceptional pre-season if they get the game time. So I'm not against that, and I think. And you're beginning to notice a trend, aren't you? These £5 million players, all right, we went in the Japanese league's different, we went in the Korean league. But now even like the 12 million for Vuskovic, now these youngsters, they're like 20 mil, 25 mil touches now. They're not the low prices anymore. Like, you know,
No.
so
No.
it is baffling the prices for some of them when they're not even proven. It really is.
Yeah.
But that's the market for you, isn't it? You know.
Yeah, I mean,
It is, yeah,
become massively inflated. But so Sorrel, I'm sure we can float somebody to a Saudi oil club for like way too much money.
We'll get you on one day, Milton. That's all right. Let me know when you're available. Right, okay. I know the Aussie times you're very early in the morning. Just do a few of these and move on to the next point. Yeah. I was going to come on to a lot of them because there's a lot of things out there that are ongoing. Big up, Jess, from the Leeds group. Big up. I nip over there and just like sit in and give the time, you know, try and help the algorithm. And lob the odd banter grenade in there as well. Yeah. Because this place, yeah, no one's knocking that. yeah, remember that. We always remember the late winners against West Ham. Right?
Yeah, dire.
Yeah.
Stalteri. Now, there's a figure. A little story about Stalteri. He was a player I never liked, Stalteri, and I got taken to a hospitality game. I think it was a Chelsea FA Cup replay. Got taken to as a hospitality. So up in the sort of in the hospitality bit, and they do a quiz. They used to do a quiz, and I won the quiz. Got presented, and the player presenting me the Warren prize was Mr. Stalteri. So I got me picture with him, shaking his hand, and he was probably the player I least liked, shall we say?
Ironic. Right, these are our confirmed incoming so far. We know about Kota Takai. In fact, he was holding his shirt up, and I posted all the videos of him doing his thing at the club training ground. Oliver Boast and Max McFadden, they're both from Leeds. Oliver Boast is a striker. Max McFadden, centre midfield striker, 11 goals, 10 assists. But these are young kids. If these go in the under-17 teams with Williams Barnett, mate, they're going to have some team next year. Right? Because they've got this other kid, Tynan Thompson, left winger, who I think looks a bit special.
Is he the one from Northern Ireland?
No, you'll think about Mason Melia or George Feeney, the Irish ones we've got in Keighley. Yeah, but no, we'll see. You know, yeah, Max McFadden. And we know about Luka Vuskovic. I mean, we paid 12 mil from Hajduk Split. He then went out on loan after playing for them. Polish league, smashed it there. Gone to West Villa with Alfie Devine, smashed it there. He's got a few caps for Croatia now. They have a habit for a small country producing some cracking players. You know,
that's do Belgium weirdly.
Yeah, Belgium produced some of the best players over the recent decade, and they won nothing. And that team should have won something. Eden Hazard with like Vertonghen
and they had to get dodgy refereeing decisions just to beat little old Wales. So
yeah.
There we go.
So what's I've watched quite a bit of Luka Vuskovic, and I've seen as much as Matthias Tull and Kevin Danso you two have. So
I'm really keen on Danso. I really like Danso. Yeah, Tell I'm a little unsure about, but also I've got to kind of think, well, you know, he's 19, come to a new country, completely different league. I'm going to reserve judgment for at least this season, until the end of this season. I think new season, new manager. Give him a year, see how we go. I'll talk about him then. I mean, if he scores 3 hat-tricks in a row, then yeah, that's one thing. But I'll give him a little bit of time, right? Obviously, there's a lot of talent there. Danso, really like Danso. Thought he was very important for us in our Europa League run. Coming on late, in particular against Frankfurt and even against Man United. Thought he did some really, really good defensive work. He's quick, he's strong. Not too sure about his ability on the ball, but just as an out-and-out defender, he looked really impressive. He reminds me a little bit of Davinson Sanchez when he first came to Spurs and was good at football. He's got that speed, that strength, that athleticism. He's good aerially. I think he's got all the makings of an excellent all-round defender. If he can perhaps improve his technical game a little bit.
Improve his passing.
Yeah. I think
keep it short. which is what I used to shout at Sanchez. Keep it short from the terraces. Keep it short.
I mean, I think the other thing is he came on late in a lot of games, or he played a lot of games where we were sitting deep, especially like the Frankfurt game, the final. So, whatever, you can't really judge distribution based on those high pressure games where just get it clear. But look,
I liked him as soon as he came in, and on a couple of occasions he's carried the ball forward quite a long distance, in before then releasing, and that I'm thinking to myself, you ought to do that more often, come out with the ball like that, a bit like Mickey Van Den would if he was right on the edge of the area and sprint it down there.
He's got good positional awareness, though, I think.
Yeah,
because,
I know, and he's good in the air.
I've seen him look around and think, "Where's Porro?"
Well, we all do that, don't we?
Yeah.
I quite like him, and obviously I like the chant that goes with his name, because if they're going to call someone Super Kev, that's great. That's fine by me. So, and Tell, I think he's had his moments and a couple of cracking goals, and he's shown that he can go past players, and he seemed to me he had the right attitude when he first came on as well. He was berating players for not coming forward and not bringing the ball forward sometimes, and I think he's got a few. I mean, Tell instead of Richarlison, it's a no-brainer really, actually, in that respect, in terms of how they are there.
He must have really impressed in training, because all at the club in the background, they all wanted him. They all wanted him still, even though we've only seen like a small return, but we've seen potential. But we haven't seen anything more than that. Nice goal against Villa away. Took that penalty, Cooley. Did he get 3 penalties?
I mean, what I found interesting about Tell as well was he'd only been at the club like a month, maybe 6 weeks, something like that. And he had already bought a house in London, and he'd already bought a car. And the point of that is, obviously, if you're just going there for 6 months, you'd rent somewhere, or you'd live in a hotel. Like Jose Mourinho lived in a Manchester hotel for like 2.5 years, or you would you'd hire a car or something, right? And I get he's a professional football player, but if he's buying a house, that probably indicates that he's going to stay. And that was after a pretty short period of time, which obviously did come out to be true. So I guess the club liked him, and he decided to actually.
Pals with Odegaard.
Yeah, and I guess
French under-21 side.
And I guess
Odegaard bent his ear. We know that's on record.
Yeah, and I guess maybe there was that sort of feeling from him of, well, they really want me here. They really want me to play for the club, and they want to give me these opportunities. We're there to do that. And if
with Denso, I think everyone likes Denso. He's just done everything right. Before he come, he said, "When Spurs come calling, you go." What more do you want to hear as a Spurs fan? I mean, wish a lot more players listen, this club is a big attraction. I don't care what other people say it is. So, how much you guys seen of Vaskovic? Or you can carry on about Tell or Denso, it doesn't matter.
No, I haven't really seen a lot of Vaskovic at all. Just the odd highlights here and there. So I'll be interested in watching. That's why I hope he gets some of the runouts in the pre-season games.
Your son believes I think he's the second coming of Christ. That's he will step into me like when he thinks like he's got a different opinion, which is what we want. We want different opinions. Yeah. So I just think he's the best. I've not seen it even at Spurs. I've not seen a talent like him. I mean, he says to himself about pace. We'll only know if he's tested in the Premier League, but because of the foreign quota issue with the Champions League, he may have to go out and loan again. But the point is, we're spot centre backs. We've got Phillips, Dorrington's good on the ball. There. Phillips, they're all 6'4", 6'5". They're all mountains. Their mums must have put them in grow bags when they were younger.
It's about time we had a bit of height.
Yeah. I think we'll move on. This is what gets fans going. Possible outgoings. Solomon got good numbers at Leeds. 20-odd contributions in their season. Velez, that loan's gone through to Rosario's central back to his own club. We're led to believe it's just a loan. There's no add-ons, and for once, his club has done the right thing, which is what they should do with them other young centre backs. Is the clause in the loan is if we need to pull you back in January, we can. So in other words, if we had a horrendous injury list, we could bring them back into the club. I mean, why this hasn't been done years ago, I don't know. Well, I do know. The club have been amateurs, right? When it comes to a lot of things that happen at this club, for all the money, they behave in an amateur way when it comes to football. So Solomon, guys, part of me, he said he wants to try and earn his place again. He might get a run out in the pre-season games, and then he takes players. I mean, he had 2 cameos when he first came on the right-hand side for us, and I watched him. I thought, oh, this winger reminds me of Aaron Lennon. Take players on, right? And then we go away at Burnley. We spanked him 5-2. He plays on the left, and he actually showed me as a winger, not head down. He looks up, and he picked out Son for 2 of his goals in his hat-trick away at Burnley 5-2. And I thought, you've got something a bit. I still need to see more of you, but you got to be, need something about. And then he done his ACL. And then I think, beginning of last season, because Udogie hadn't had a pre-season as well, and he was poor last season, and apart from the last half a dozen games. But I just thought the club thought, we don't want to wait, we'll send you out on loan. And Leeds seemed to be a good place for him to go, and he went there. If they buy him, they buy him. You know what I mean? I think he's still got a very good chance to go there. I think Leeds want him. But I don't know what the player really wants. I don't know.
Yeah, there's obviously been a big social media stink over comments or whatever. I don't care about that. But obviously, there's that. Going to mention it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Where does he fit? I mean, realistically, is he a better player than Richarlison? We've just all agreed that Richarlison isn't good enough.
No,
so can we categorically say that he is? Because if we can't I
don't think we haven't seen enough of him. I mean, obviously he played for Leeds a lot last season, didn't he? But as Adrian said, when he came on and he first started, we're thinking, oh, hello, we finally got a winger who can take someone on here, and then busts his ACL. I know how painful that is, and he hasn't, and we don't really know, I suppose, and we've got a lot of these players, I suppose, who are nominally wingers, aren't they? And now we seem to have a sort of an overflux of centre halves and wingers all of a sudden. Yes, but have we got enough room for him in the squad? I suppose is what that will boil down to. And I think Leeds will probably snap our hands off if we said he was available for him.
I think also because we got him on a free, any sort of deal. I mean, I'm sure Leeds would pay 20-25 million, that sort of figure for him. That's a good sort of incoming bit of revenue. Especially if we're talking about people like Richarlison leaving as well. This is all quite, that's significant transfer funds, especially if we're going to go out and spend 60 million on Kudus. We're probably going to have to sell a few players. So you're looking at someone who wasn't even in the team last year. Maybe he wants to stay at Leeds. He just got promoted with them. Who knows? In regards to Villiers, he's gone back out on loan. Brian Hill, probably the most pointless signing in Spurs history. We gave them Eric Lamela and 20 million, and he's played 10 times or something. I remember he had a nice pass once or twice, but I don't remember anything else. Bissouma, he can go. Richarlison, we spoke about him. Davies should stay. Romero, I want him to stay, but he needs to sign a new contract.
He does, yeah. I don't disagree with anything you just said at all. I think Adrian, and sometimes Romero frustrates me because he slows the game down so much, but that might just be because there was no one in front of him wanting to pick up the ball, and it might all change with a different sort of outlook there. But he has his good games, he has his bad games sometimes. So and injuries and. If his attitude's not there, then he can bugger off as long as we get our 75 mil for him or 80 mil or whatever. Because I think we've got, as I said, we've got this. So you suddenly seem to have an overload of central defenders. Whether they're all good enough is another matter, of course. But Bissouma, for me, okay, he had a couple of good games towards the end of the season, but he's just he hasn't really caught fire.
This is where fans get emo, isn't it? With players. I mean, don't get me wrong. Those players players you like, you do get emotionally attached to. Yeah, but with Basuma, right? He's in the last year of his contract. What has he done? Well, he
got sent off a few times.
He got 3 suspensions in that season as well. Right, next season when we won them, we went 10 games undefeated. 3 suspensions. Right, nearly cost us a game at Luton if Decky hadn't bailed us out after VDV scored. We win 1-0. Some of his passing, his loose pass across the centre of the field, which other teams pick up. I mean, to me, like technically he's good, right? He'd probably do better on other team, and he needs to go. He really needs to go because we've had it with Sissoko, we had it with Sergio, we've had it with players like that. Suddenly they're not. They play well for a few games, have a few bad games, then they have one good game. The fans are going, "Oh yeah, but he's had a good game. Let's keep him." No, it should be the overall consistency, and he hasn't delivered. So he should go.
I think we've been saying for most of last season, weren't we? He's got to go. Because he probably wouldn't have played too much. I mean, when Bentancur, Basuma, and Sarr were being first pick, and none of them were playing well. And at one point, and it was horrendous. But it's Basuma is the one out of those 3 who just doesn't do it for me.
Yeah, and we've had interest because the fees in his last year, they're talking 15 to 17 mil. I would have thought clubs would bite your hands off to come and get him for that. I mean, if he wants to go, he won't be. Well, look, like I did with the Richarlison thing. I mean, like he said, well, look, you ain't getting game time, and you've got a World Cup. I don't know if his country's qualified for the World Cup or not. So you ain't getting game time. You're not going to the Champions League squad. So that's a little nudge to the side. You'll get a little game time, right? So we've heard that Juventus wouldn't mind him, Palace, which shows the state of the money of Italian football. If Juventus are looking for someone like Basuma, anyway, right? You got Palace and Everton as well have shown interest in the past. We know that Velez has got a Rosario Centro and is on loan, and you've got Everton and Vasco da Gama that's in South America again. Like if you said, like you alluded to earlier, unless he goes on loan, it would be in the Brazilian eye out there, if he went there. So if he thinks he'd have better chance to enhance his chances of making the Brazilian squad for the World Cup. So, I can see more clubs coming in for Basuma.
I think Basuma's just kind of one of those players who, perhaps a little bit like Emerson Royale, can have a really good game, but will have a brain fart. He's going to do something stupid. I don't know. I feel like a lot of our transfer policy has sort of been disjointed, and Basuma was never the sort of player that we needed in reality. And he just never, he was played in a role that didn't suit him. He had injury issues, blah, blah, blah. It just didn't work out. Thank you for your contribution. You got a Europa League medal. Fair dues. You can go, elsewhere and crack on, mate. No hard feelings. I think we have a couple of players like that. I don't hate any of these players who are potentially leaving. I just don't think they're going to be good enough long term, and we sort of need to bring in a bit more talent. And also, we have a new manager, new style, all these sorts of things.
Well, we have 109 of you watching us, viewing us on various platforms. So thank you for that, apart from the people in the chat here. We've just got a couple of banners to do, mostly BS, but we'll go through it because it's rumours. Left field rumour links. I like this kid Fratesi. I've been going on it. Richard Rios at Palmeiras. He's the one who's having a good World Club Cup that's out there at the moment. Kolo Muani. He's gone back to PSG and they want a sale, and Juventus want another loan. Again, if they're coming with Basuma, Juventus got no money, or they're going to court again or something. And the same with Dusan Vlahovic. He's got a year left on his contract. And they're talking 15 to 20 mil. I mean, I don't know if paper's playing that down, but I like that player. But I liked him when he was it Fiorentina or Atlanta? I can't remember. There was a left field room with Christopher Nkunku at Chelsea. and Seska at Leipzig, they're not likely, and Goroxas at Sporting are not likely. But do you think there is an outside chance of us getting a Richard Rios even, like 25-year-old Colombian from Palmeiras, energetic midfielder, attracting attention? I take it
I
that's
have
enough.
absolutely no idea, to be honest,
Yeah, right.
with you, Adrian, on most of these, whether or not they're. I mean,
Right. What about
we
David
get connected with so many players, don't we?
Yeah.
But,
Well, I've got another
but-
banner as well before we finish. What about David?
one of the things, because I was in Madeira last week, Portugal, obviously, all of a sudden Gyökeres was on plastered everywhere going to Arsenal, you know, and that was in the Portuguese press until Jota's accident happened, and that then took everything over anyway. But so yeah, but yeah, Darvic, of course, we've been linked with him before, haven't we? In that case, but has he gone off the boil? I don't know. To be honest.
Well,
there's so many rumours knocking around, and of course we know that the internet in the knows have missed all of our recent signings until all of a sudden they're there.
Yeah, I expect us to get a signing out the blue because, like, I mean, you look. I mean, Johan Langer, he was having enough pot shots taken at him last season. Oh, what's he doing? He come from Villa. They didn't want him. He's rubbish. Blah blah blah. And I mean, it wasn't just toxic around him. It's the science team, the medical team, all the coaching staff, the manager, the players, everyone, right? But I mean, he coached with Lang at a Danish club called Dingby before Frank took over at Bromby. So they've known each other, and I think he's part of the reason we got Frank to come to the club. He's also got in VDV, Bergvall, Yang Min Hook. I mean, we don't know if Yang Min Hook's going to be any good. Tells under his watch. And then you've got to consider the players that are left while Lang has been here, and the players that have gone out on loan. So he hasn't exactly been, twiddling his thumbs at this club. He's been involved. And after the cull we've seen recently, with all the coaching staff, everyone that's come and gone,
and he's still there.
If Levy didn't really rate him, he wouldn't be here, would he? He would have gone as well. So he must have been doing a lot of work. Because you don't see him, he's not visible. As everyone, or he don't come out and make a speech, which happens a lot of times at this club because the PR with the club is basically crap. Because he doesn't do that, then obviously you've got fans having a pop. But it alludes to the fact that he's done a good job behind the scenes just to hang on his job, because it takes something to hang on to your job at Tottenham, because everyone's going before the boss, Yeah. So I like Doosan. I mean, Milani's interesting. I mean, like, if Juventus can't afford to pay the fee and PSG want to sell, so we were in for him before they got him. I just think they've overstretched themselves, and now they want to offload players. So Richard Rios, he's had a good tournament. How many times have clubs bought a player that's flopped, that's played well in a tournament, whether it's a World Cup or Euros or whatever? I mean, it's an endless list, isn't it? So he's energetic. I mean, like,
he's players who've had a good game against us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I don't. If we're getting Kudos in, I think we'll only get one more, what we would call quality oven-ready player in, and then probably, which would be a striker or whatever, or a 10-side player, and then I think we'll get a defensive, because the club had said, and it come out very early, beginning of the season, they want a DM, a defensive midfielder, not necessarily a 6, it's not middle, a striker and a winger. That was it. Now, the extra on that to get the fan base going, it wouldn't surprise me if we brought in Kyle Walker-Peters, but which is not exciting at all. But he would be the fourth. I think we're bringing in 4. I think Kyle Walker-Peters will be one of them because he's a cheap deal to do. And I still think we're bringing that winger, probably Kudos, that DM and a striker. I don't know what you guys think.
I mean, I would hope that we bring in a Kudus, someone like Kudus, and to say Carl Walpickers, I wouldn't be against that happening. And as you say, if he's on a free or whatever, then fair play. You would hope they'd be saying, okay, well, we've already signed 3 players this season. Even though most of them were already in the bag anyway. But you would hope we'd get at least 2 more decent sort of first team squad players that could go straight into a team. I would hope. I have no idea, to be honest. As you say, all these links, it's and most of them for me are Danny Rose players.
These are the more recent ones, and these are the ones I tend to ignore. Unless you've got an opportunity signing like PSG, Real Madrid, Barcelona want to offload a player that comes up and you think, oh yeah, he's good, right? They want some money because they want to buy a Galactica or something. Then I take note. But surely when you get to this stage in the transfer window, you've got your list of players you've been compiling all season, right? You're not now going to be coming in for these. I mean, Muniz and Robinson at Fulham, going to cost money that we need to spend in other areas. We're not. If we got Carl Walker, he played on the left when he won the Mini World Cup. He always played on the left as a junior, I think, even though he's right-footed and plays on the right as well. Coney De Winter's just been recently coming up. This Keith Smith, he's only 19 for AZ Alkmaar. He looks decent, but I mean, these days are my idea. He's about, I think, 27 or something for so banged in loads of goals in the Scottish League. Yeah. This player, I like the look of Evan Gissens at least. And I wondered actually if he might be looking at Lyon because they've had a lot of trouble financially and been relegated, haven't they? Yeah. So we might want to go cherry picking in France, But this kid's fast. He's got acceleration. This kid is fast. Evan Gissens, front player. Right, striker. Young Bisson's been lurking around. And just recently, Jacob Ramsey's on the agenda again. But remember, Langer was at Villa as well. And Jacob Ramsey's not going to be cheap. And we need more of a DM type player, so I don't know. Do you make any sense of this, guys? I don't really. I don't think there's anything in it.
I don't think there's anyone there who's lighting any fires, is there? In terms of, and like I say, I probably don't know enough about any of them anyway. So
it's wait and see. I mean, once we get the first sign, once we get if Kudus is in, then suddenly we're playing Football Manager and working out permutations in our minds now, right? And things like that. You get another player in, suddenly you're looking again, and then you're thinking, oh, Kudus is in, who's going, right, or whatever, and things like that. You make any sense of these, James? Before we finish.
I don't know. It's sort of it's a wide array of rumours.
Or BS, isn't it? Basically.
I mean, it's players who we're interested in. I mean, what does that mean, right? Obviously, you've got certain club targets. There'll be scouts who are keen on certain players. The active interest, but we've got a new manager. There's sort of a whole new coaching team, and they're going to perhaps want a slightly different profile of player to what Ange wanted, to what Conte wanted, to what previous managers wanted. So it's hard to sort of keep that consistency in between managerial changes. So who knows? I'll believe it when I see them with a Spurs shirt.
Yep.
Right. I want to thank my guests for coming on the show, and we'll hopefully enjoy themselves and they'll be back at some time in the future. I want to thank the 110 of you that are viewing us at this moment. We hate to leave you now. I know you must be coming on from different time zones to watch us.
I've got to get up for work in the morning.
and these guys are in the UK, and James has got to go up to uni or something. I don't know, maybe go to a lecture tomorrow. I don't know. Nope. So, nope. Okay. All right. Yeah, we've got about 110 of you viewing us on various platforms, which is excellent at this late hour in the UK. I want to thank you all for putting up with us. I want to thank everyone in the chat. Thank you for your comments and questions. Our shows go out every Tuesday, Friday and Sunday at 10 o'clock UK time, so you know where to find us. If you haven't subscribed to the channel and you like our content, there's the little subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner. Please hit that button. And if you want to become a member, you can click on any on our videos when you subscribe. And by the video, you'll see the join button. you can join. There's 3 types of membership if you so choose to join. Yeah. We also have if you like Facebook, I mean, I don't know what types of social media people out there like. People like some and hate others, or they hate a lot, you know, which means they're not a bad judge, really. So we've got a Facebook group, Spurs Diehards TTID as well. That's got 14,500 members, but that's been going for 6 years, whereas our little fledgling group here has just been going for only a year. We've got our ex-Twitter group, 3,200 on there. Our videos go out there. We've got a Facebook page. Our videos go out live on that as well. And we've got a WhatsApp group. And if any of you would like to appear on the shows, all we need is your phone number and that, we just need to find a way to add you to the WhatsApp group. You can even go in there and just join in the convos. It's pretty civilized in there. And if you want to come on the shows, you know, I use the WhatsApp group as a sync to get guests. These guys are in the WhatsApp group as well, and we use that. So a big up to all of you watching and sorting, and a big up to all of you that voted for us as well. And yeah, we appreciate it. It makes all the hard work that we do behind the scenes worthwhile. Right? So thanks again. Have I forgotten to thank anyone, like God's mum and dad, or anyone like that? And with that, I'll see you guys in the back room, and I'll play you out. We're gonna really refresh the tunes. I'll play you out with different tunes each week, probably.
Until